So let's begin with the story The Doll's House by Catherine Mansfield. In Unit 1 of the story, we are introduced to Mrs. Haye. Now, who is Mrs. Haye? Mrs. Haye was an old lady who was a relative of the Burnells, and she was an aunt to the Burnell children. By nature, she was very sweet and generous. That means she was a very giving person. So, Mrs. Hay had been for some time living with the Burnells in the countryside. So, when she returned back to the town, she sent the children a gift in the form of a doll's house. Now, as young girls who are growing up, playing with dolls and creating a fantasy about the dolls and the doll's house is something that every little young girl can identify with. So, when this doll's house is received by the Burnell children, they are very, very excited about it. So, when the parcel arrives, it is very big in size that the carter or the porter and Pat, who probably is one of the helpers at the house, carries it into the courtyard and it stays there outside near the feed room because it was quite safe to keep it there since it was not the rainy season. And being summer, it was okay to keep the house outside. Another reason for keeping the house out was that it was freshly painted and the smell of the paint was very strong. So Aunt Beryl felt that since the smell was very strong, it could make anyone seriously ill and sick. So she decided that it was best to keep house, the doll's house, outside in the courtyard. The next paragraph begins with a description of the doll's house, and this is also important because the title of the story is The Doll's House, and this doll's house has an important role to play. So, the author gives us a description and says that it was a dark, oily, spinach green colored house with splashes of bright yellow in it. So, he describes it and says that it had two solid little chimneys. Now, as students of literature, you have to use your imagination that it is a big house, it is dark green in color, it has some bright yellow designs on it, it has two chimneys which are glued or stuck to the roof of the house, and these chimneys were painted red and white. The door of the house was of a shiny yellow varnish and was made, or it looked like it was a slab of toffee. The house resembled the door of the house resembled a slab of toffee. It also had four windows, and these windows looked very real. Why they looked real? Because it seemed as if they were divided into panes, window panes, which could be opened and shut. And these panes were divided by a broad streak of green color. The house also had a tiny porch, and this was painted yellow, and there were lumps of dried paint hanging at the edge of the porch. It looked like a perfect little house, and for the children, it was something of great excitement and enthusiasm. So they did not mind the smell of the paint, they only wanted it to be opened quickly. Here ends your Unit 1. We'll continue with Unit 2 next time.